2007 in the country is 8.4 million jobs lost. New York City net job loss is expected to top out just under 250,000. The unemployed, over 14 million nationwide. Long term, 6.8. Over almost half the population has been out there, out of jobs for a long time. Now, I think there is some debate in the extent to which the unemployment support is fueling that and causing people to say, I don't need to go ahead and pursue a job, I can make ends meet. But we are starting, as we saw with the recent vote in Congress not to renew prior to the break, that there is some question as to whether those supports should remain in place. Tom, did you have a question?
Yeah, just the other day, coming to work at one of the radio stations, they were saying that unemployment right now is about 26 million.
There are some crazy numbers out there. And these numbers I find change weekly in terms of what's going on out there. To me, they're just mind-boggling numbers. However, as a small business owner, I'm going to tell you I'm loving it. Why? I have a job, I'm in control of my destiny, and I can finally get the human talent that I need at a reasonable price. 3 years ago, there were crazy prices out there for people. And I could not get a realistic expectation from someone as to what they were willing to settle for and what I was willing to pay. It's difficulty finding the bridge. That bridge is now starting to come into a traffic bridge rather than a bridge waiting for something to go by.
Andy?
Yeah.
I heard the other day that 200 people applied for a single $12.50 an hour sales job at Restoration Hardware in Greenwich.
There you go.
200 people.
There you go. But people are finally getting a dose of reality. I feel bad on a personal level for people who are going through financial challenges, but for my business, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful because I can finally get the talent I need to build my company. The gains that are happening out there are in terms of temporary and part-time help, and that is always the first group that goes up, and the hope is that as temporary and part-time help goes up, then individuals will either flip over to permanent, or the company will decide that they have to now fill the positions permanently or get back to real job creation. There was a lot of talk a couple weeks ago about how there was a big surprise in the economy and we actually lost jobs rather than gained jobs. And it was a real misunderstanding. What happened is that the census workers got dumped on the marketplace, and that flipped the numbers from a positive to a negative. If you take that out, the May stats, there was an actual 85,000 job gain. So we're continuing to head in the right direction, and quite honestly, the use of census workers helped to cushion some of that, in my opinion. In terms of personal stats, the average debt in this company right now is $43,874. For a lot of us here in New York State, that probably sounds minuscule. But it does represent 122% of disposable income for people. The sustainable debt level is believed to be less than 100% of disposable income. So now you begin to see the problem. Top 10% of Americans accounted for half of the total national income and 40% of spending. Now you come back to those earlier marketing stats, Tiffany's, Home Shopping Network, the upscale chains of Saks. These are the ones that are picking up, and these are the ones that are picking up because the moths are starting to come out of the pockets of the people with disposable income. I don't think I'm telling you anything you don't already know. The increase in the stock market mostly impacts the wealthy 10%. One of the challenges for most of us as private business owners is where does the stock market fit in our portfolio, and how important is it, and do I trust it anymore? And that, in my opinion, comes back to exactly what we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes, which is using the buying and selling of small businesses as a wealth-building strategy. It is, in my opinion, for most of us as entrepreneurs, going to become the house-owning strategy of the next 20 years. in this recession, we do expect the median wage to fall, just as it did in the period from 2001 to 2007, which goes back to what we were talking about before in terms of being able to afford people. Marketplace unemployment is very unfair and uneven depending on what your level of degrees are. 5% of college grads are unemployed. That seems really low to me, but you never know. 10% of high school and 15% of non-high school. Even if those numbers are off, the ratios, I believe, are probably pretty correct, which means that if you're at the bottom of the education food chain, you are just devastated by this recession and don't expect it to get much better anytime soon. Companies are looking to hire the highest brain pool, the highest talent pool that they can first, and take those people out of the marketplace. Those people are beginning to adjust their income expectations, and they are soaking up the jobs. So for all of you that, and I know a lot of you either have kids in college or have plans to put kids through college, I think this has to be the #1 strategy for your business, is to secure the funds in order to do that.
I mean, it's an interesting phenomenon. We've been hiring, and for us right now, the pool that seems to be coming in and what works for us is an older 50 population with a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I'm finding all of a sudden is my health costs.
Yep.
Because you get rated and you get put in these markets,
Yep.
and the numbers there from what we're hearing might be astronomical.
Yep.
Have you
They are.
experienced it like that?
It
or
is a
comments on
reality, and I think that there is something that I would encourage all of you to look into over the next couple of years is what I call PEOs, or professional employer organizations, where you no longer employ your employees, they are part of a larger pool, and they are employed by the company that you're working with, and you now pool in a large, highly distributed pool, where your 10 employees who are over 50 are no longer a red thumb. Now the reason that I really suggest you look at PEOs is not just for a rating pool, but it's because the regulations are bad and getting worse. The chances of you getting hit with an unemployment audit, with any kind of a withholding audit are going up. New York State is on the hunt for revenue. The time and energy that you spend going through an audit is just really distracting to the business. And I personally don't think that any of us have enough expertise to stay on top of the game in terms of being HR experts or executives. We have our businesses to run, and we need a company to back us up. The PEOs typically, I will tell you, will cost you between $50 and $100 a month per employee. And that is pricey compared to payroll. However, when you consider that you get a benefits department, you get IBM class benefits for your employees to choose from, you get your rating pool blended, and you get a legal department. I could spend what I spend for my PEO services on a lawyer if I have one question about how to hire, how to fire, or how to manage an employee. Been there, done that. So the services that come with them is like taking on an entire HR department for the company and distributing the cost across your payroll.
How do you find one?
There are lots of them out there, and I will tell you, be very, very careful, because there are some charlatans out there, as well as there are some good ones. I happen to be with Alcott, which is on Long Island. I think very highly of them. If you want a referral to them, I'd be happy to give you the number of someone there. They sit on and have been former presidents of the New York State PEO Association, which is another place to look. One of the things when you are vetting them is to look at their bonding paperwork, because you are paying them your withholding taxes, and if they go out in the middle of the night, like one did in Rockland last year, whatever they had, you're out. If they didn't pay New York State, that's your problem. And you can fight all day long, but it will be your problem. And so the good ones are going to have exceedingly high bonding rates, they're going to have exceedingly high insurance rates, and they consider that a cost of doing business.